Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Astrology and Beyond. Today, with your host Tatiana, also broadcasting for ANN Archetypal News Network. And today, I will bring you a very exciting astro weather since we will be having a lunar eclipse. Eclipse season is on, and this is going to be possibly very big for many people. So let's just dive in. But before we dive in, I want also to invite you to like, subscribe, and tap the little bell. And also feel free to comment on this video and share it with people. And today, because we're going to be having this eclipse season in the axis of Libra and Aries, especially for Aries people, if you are an Aries, that means your birthday is coming up. So happy birthday for Aries people that will be entering this new astrological year and their birthday. And I have the solar return at 50% off for any Aries person that would like to understand more about what their year is going to look like and the themes that are going to be highlighted, and especially because the eclipses are in the nodal axis. This could be major times of change and major times of transformation and exciting new beginnings. So if you're an Aries, check the description box below, and you may contact me for a reading of a solar return. And if you don't have your birth chart ever done yet, I highly recommend you get a birth chart reading in order to understand what your soul's blueprint, the seed you are, can and will and keep expanding into this best expression, into this expression of self at its highest and best. Okay, with that aside, let's dive into the astrology of the second half of March. And this is very exciting because like I said, it's going to be probably really intense and phenomenal. Okay. Oh, lunar eclipse in Libra. Bum. So we will have a few highlights of this second half of March. So Sun will be entering Aries March 19th. Mars will be entering Pisces March 22nd. And then we will have the other important piece of resistance, full moon lunar eclipse in Libra. So let's see what this brings for us. Ta-dan, ta-dan, ta-dan. So obviously we're still in this Piscean season for those who watched the past video. And if you haven't watched the first half, it's important to understand the energy we have been bathing in, which is this energy of the Piscean vibe. And the sun today is still in Pisces, today on March 14th, when I'm recording this. And this Pisces season, or this Pisces energy, really has been inviting us to trust a deeper flow of soul energy, to trust processes that are bigger than ourselves, to allow for things that need to culminate, to allow the currents of higher understanding to flow through you. And especially if you have been doing the work of balancing feminine and masculine energies within you, yin and yang energies within you, consciously, the eclipses might not necessarily show up in a very strong manner for you. Why? Because everything is always set up so that we evolve like almost without noticing. The idea of knowing the astrology is knowing how the weather is, so we don't have to suffer through it, really. It's more understanding its cycles. And this particular cycle, this past 15 days, has really been asking us to look into how we're balancing the output of energy, the giving, the energetics of of out with the energetics of receive, of yin, of times, down times, and how in our lives and our relationships we are cooperating with that. Why? Because Mars and Venus were traveling together for a little while, and Mars and Venus together is really understanding how to balance out those energies. And if we've done this very consciously, then what that will translate into when the eclipses hit is that we're more clear about what is true for us without having to give into some kind of imbalance, which will be shown by the eclipses. So now the Aries energy that is entering really hard and strong, while the Piscean energy is still active. So just for for show, we have the sun entering Aries. We still have Chiron in Aries. Now it's conjunct Mercury and the North Node. So this all is very present at this time. And as we've seen with Chiron, with everything Chiron, there is a lot of the wounding, this is literally the wounded warrior, the one that wants to go for the action, and there's this fear, it's it's almost like when I was brave, I got wounded. When I went for what I wanted, I was shut down or killed or so it's like, how do I trust myself? And now with Mercury in that conjunction is also, how often have I really spoken truth of what is important to me as an individual? Because the energy of Aries, you see here, my little dude on their motorcycle or dudette or whoever on this motorcycle, riding on their own, just moving towards the sunset or sunrise, and there's this climber up here bravely, I don't know, just braving all the elements and just going for it on their own. It's individual, and Aries energy has this very strong sense of individuality. This is why Aries and Libra are kind of like, me versus others. But how do I know how to be with others when I have not had absolute clarity of who I am? And who I am, is it my family patterns and beliefs? Is it what I believe to be everything I grew up with? Is it a personality? Is that who I am? So these are the questions that are very much coming up with the Piscean stellium as well. Is who you are is not necessarily your ego self or your ego assertion. There is something beneath this personality. And when we can really tap into that, who are we, then we're more able to assert ourselves clearly within the context of others instead of getting confused with others. And in essence, yes, in essence, we are all one blob of gigantic divine love energy. Sure, in the other dimensional fields and existences. But here on this incarnation, we still have a sense of self that is very distinct from others. And this is why the Aries energy wants us to go forward, to initiate, to be brave. It's quick in action. With Mercury in Aries, is quick in speech, can be very assertive and quick. But it can also be, could be potentially muted as well. Why? Because with Chiron there, we might need to see or acknowledge the wounding, that wounding. Now, it's a great time for speech therapy, I would say. With Chiron there is a possibility of speaking, of sharing, of looking into what has been difficult, what has been preventing us from going for what we want. And look into that, really look into it, think about it. Also, Mercury is like the messenger, right? So it's a good way to put, if we need to assert certain needs, how can we speak about it and find the correct words without being too sharp or too I gotta do this, I gotta say this, and it could be also hurtful, right? Or harmful. Using diplomatic communication might not come as easy at this moment in time if we really want to assert ourselves and assert boundaries. But that is also the invitation, is how can we be assertive and clear without being aggressive? That is one invitation of this time as this Aries energy moves in. Now look in your chart. Where is this Aries energy? What house is it in? Because that area of life is where you probably want to move full steam ahead with your assertion, with who you are, with what truly means something to you. So whichever that house is in, that's the area of life that really wants to start something, get something going. And the sponsor of obviously this energy is Mars. So look at where Mars is, and Mars will be soon also entering Pisces. So that is where we really need to be in alignment with soul. So let's look a little bit at when Mars enters Pisces. So March 22nd, Mars enters Pisces. We have Venus and Saturn conjunct, and we still obviously have Neptune here. So we have a big energy in Pisces, big energy in Aries, and the very, present energy of the Uranus, Jupiter, almost conjunct energy. So this is just the main energies that we're dealing with. Now, when Mars enters Pisces, there's a few themes that can be like very archetypical. So there could be a tendency to channel energy into artistic or spiritual pursuits. And that's at its highest. Mars wants to dive deep into spiritual pursuits. It wants to create art, go into those worlds of the imaginary and bring that heaven to earth. So that's very positive at its best. Conflict may be avoided or handled with a compassionate approach. So that's also very good when there's conflict, and because we're going to need to use our assertion, because Mars is sponsoring this Aries energy, we might be able to be a little bit more compassionate and have a little bit more understanding of the other when we're dealing with conflict, because conflict is going to be inevitable through these times. It's going to be inevitable. It's going to be there. It's going to be shown. It's going to be seen. And having proper tools to share and assert ourselves is fantastic. I don't know if I shared last time that precisely on the last 2 weekends ago, I did this compassionate communication workshop, level 2, which was exactly while Mercury was in Pisces and Saturn and Venus. And it's like, oh my God, this is like the perfect time to acquire such tool, how to communicate with immense compassion. And now this is where these kinds of tools become useful. When the conflict is going to start arising, when we're going to have to face other people's desires and their own identities coming up, and them wanting to do things, and maybe we want to do other things, and we have to come together to kind of figure out how we can truly see each other, so we can so nobody needs to lose. Otherwise, this could just be battles again, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. So ideally, we want to avoid that. So with Mars being in Pisces, there is a possibility to dissolve conflict. So this would be a good time around March 22nd, and I would say before the eclipse, not like after March 23rd. I would say avoid confrontational things, or if you need to balance out certain stuff, even settle legal disputes, not the best time, absolutely not. But maybe before, during this time, especially when Mars enters Pisces, is a good time. Now, actions are often driven by intuition and empathy rather than aggression, which is a beautiful placement of Mars. Is this capacity to really see the others, and it's when you do a charitable action and you see someone and you really want to almost defend others. It's almost like this capacity to see that it's also that crusade energy, crusade in the sense that there is something bigger that we want to be part of, and therefore we take action in that direction. It's a very humanitarian, not in the Aquarian way, but more in the spiritual way of acknowledging that we are really truly all one, and anything I do will come back to me somehow. I was watching this phenomenal interview with I don't remember exactly the channel, but I can probably put it down in the comments below. I'll leave that link below, of a woman that had a near-death experience, and when she, has her experience and meets with a council, and if you don't know what that is, like, don't get afraid, just look it up. There's so many people that have had near-death experiences, and they more often than not report having a meeting with a council and then doing a live review. And in the live review, everything is shown, everything, every little action. And she said something very beautiful that really struck me, that whether it was an action that was negative on someone, she could see that in like replay of a movie, and then she would be in the other person's body, feeling what her action had done to that person. And likewise, so she could feel the sadness or the pain, like really as her own. And then likewise, when she did something like wish somebody a beautiful day because whatever, they were having a hard day, and that person felt enlivened, even that little action, then she could feel the upliftment and what that did later on the day for that person. And of course, we're going super meta here, but come on, we're in Pisces season. I can do this. That really made me think so beyond my little life, and really, and it's not like, oh, I gotta be this good Samaritan and do all these good things. It's not just that. It's like, how can I embody every day love and kindness? How can I be a loving, kind being in all of my interactions? And it's not because I'm going to have judgment day or something, because obviously there's nothing to judge even in those planes. A life review is like, well, this is what is, and the soul gets to choose what they want to, do later with this information. But there's no good or bad, or there's no real judgment in there. And my feeling about that was, yeah, how can I be the most loving and kind person and compassionate I can be? And this is part of this Piscean energy. So with Mars in Pisces, this is why we have the actions are driven by intuition and empathy rather than aggression. It's like if we could really align with our actions being for the good of all, this is almost like putting, on your bank, on your soul bank, like a little check for your life review. I don't know. I just felt like sharing this story because it was very powerful, very, very powerful to see that, I am you and you are me. So, and to really, really embody that, whatever we say and do to another being is really literally like doing it to ourselves. So something just to consider during this time. Now, struggle with assertiveness and setting boundaries. That on the shadow side, Mars in Pisces might be when we are so devoted to the everything, you are me, I am you, that we might also forget that we can set loving boundaries. It's not all about being the victim and being a martyr and then allowing others to completely walk all over you because you have such levels of compassion. That is not necessarily the case. But with Mars in Pisces, there could be a little bit of that. We want to sacrifice for others. It's the martyr, and so let's not go there. That's a little bit of the shadow side. And lastly, another theme with Mars in Pisces is there can be a strong desire to escape reality or engage in fantasy. And this is when, if the world's getting too crazy and there's too much, we might just want to forget and avoid. Like, I'm just going to go somewhere to an island and forget the, like all my responsibilities. I don't want to talk to people. I just want to be in this magical realm where, yeah, la 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 la. So that's a tendency that can happen with this energy as well. So if you're noticing that you're literally dropping all your responsibilities or everything just because of a deep desire to really escape reality, think maybe twice and look at your reality from a different perspective. What are the amazing things that your reality is showing? And it's funny because I was literally thinking, I need a vacation in the tropics. I just want to go to an island somewhere and not have to do anything. I could feel this weight. And I was started looking for flights and stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, is everything so expensive? You know, right these days. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's just an inner feeling that I need to create my own inner tropical island here. So I kind of let it go and I went, okay, if the energy is not really flowing with that, let's not push it. Why? Because during this time, Mars in Pisces is like a fish. It's not like straight to the bullseye. It's just like boom, 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 you know, it just goes like this. So expect unexpected things. Maybe something you were planning is not happening, or maybe something you were planning led you elsewhere. So for people that are very Virgo, very strictly Virgos that need to know everything, when, why, how, the planner, the big, you know, all the schedules, fantastic. Have your schedule and allow for absolute flexibility in the schedule. Otherwise, you might be probably really overwhelmed with not with trying to make something happen at a specific time and it not happening or changing, and then you get frustrated and angry. Well, you don't need to get frustrated and angry, but that's a possibility. That's what I'm saying. So in any case, that is a little bit of that energy of Mars entering Pisces. And at the same time, around the day of March 22nd, we have Venus conjunct Saturn. So certain themes with Venus conjunct Saturn uh, could go around the themes of commitment and stability in relationships. So there could be these themes where, you know, maybe it's time to formalize something. So these are good times to formalize, you know, tie the knot and stuff like that, because it's when we're committed to people, we're committed to a relationship, we're committed to working on something for the long term. This may also indicate a serious or reserved approach to love and affection. So this is a little bit more on the shadow side, meaning that this is where people might feel not as fuzzy and connected, but more like a little bit more disconnected, more serious, you know. It's 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 less of the romance and more of the functionality, that a relationship has a function, and if it functions well, it will be a long-lasting relationship more than an explosive and, you know, fireworks and things like that. This could also highlight feelings of responsibility or duty towards your partner. So sometimes that's part of it. It's like a relationship is not all butterflies and rainbows. If you want a relationship to really last, we need to go through the ups and downs with maturity. And that's part of Saturn's role with Venus, is to mature the way we do also relationships. Also, how we value ourselves. We might feel with Saturn and Venus that there is a highlight in the contraction of, for example, money. Maybe we can see easier that maybe we don't have money or abundance, and that it gets highlighted and we like, why is this happening? It's like, okay, how are you creating this for yourself? How do you value yourself? Do you really value yourself? And what are you doing for yourself as well? So this is a little bit of Saturn's maturity path through Venus. It's like you need to be like, relationships need work if you want to make them work and make them be sustainable. It's not just gonna be all just given. There is a give and a take. There is a responsibility, and we cannot just throw things. There could be also like So it suggests a desire for lasting and enduring partnerships, which is part of this, is when we really commit to something. This could really be for the long term. It also may bring challenges or limitations in expressing affection, which is part of if I don't feel good with myself, and this is really important, if I don't value and love myself, it's going to be very difficult either to receive affection or express affection. So this is also part of Saturn coming to Venus, is asking, okay, do you truly love yourself? Do you look at yourself in the mirror and go, oh my gosh, I'm so gorgeous today. Oh, I love my body. I love my being. I accept myself as I am. Or are you looking in the mirror going like, oh, I hate this thing here and I don't like that. And oh, I suck. You know, that kind of feeling like, oh, I can't do anything right. Like the negative self-talk, you know? And this could be highlighted sometimes as well when Venus conjuncts Saturn. So we can really assess how we are loving ourselves. And when we're able to go, no, I am committed to my own being, my own well-being, and my self-love, then it's much more easier eventually to express love. But at this time, it could feel like we're more isolated from others. We're even feeling rejected. This is also an aspect that could produce some feeling of being rejected by others, you know. It also can indicate a need for patience and perseverance in matters of love. You know, is that's when you hit that bump in the relationship, and you're gonna have to make a decision. It's not like it's just gonna all break away. It's like, is this worth the effort? And more often than not, it is, if you really look into how to work through things and how to evolve it. So, you know, we don't need to necessarily separate from people or break relationships just because one thing went wrong. So this is like invitations to consider all that at this time. Again, if you're not in a relationship, this could be a time where you might feel very isolated and wanting to reach out. And again, I ask you, if you're by yourself and not in a relationship, are you loving yourself? How much self-love do you have? Now, the other thing with Pisces, with Saturn and Venus in Pisces, there's a beautiful capacity to land or to ground spiritual concepts. There's a beautiful capacity to create beautiful art, beautiful music, because Venus in Pisces accesses the beauty of music, of dance. So this is the ballet dancer. I feel like Venus Saturn in general is the ballet dancer, you know, very structured, very precise, and yet so graceful, because I'm a ballet dancer. I'm a dancer and I do a lot of ballet. And I feel like, and I do have a natal sextile of Saturn to Venus. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. It's this desire for structure, but a structure that feels fluid. It can also be like Tai Chi, you know? Tai Chi is a very beautiful martial art, but it's very precise. You know, so it's these are all the kinds of themes that can be occurring through this transit. So, for example, if you've been wanting to do some kind of meditation, this might not be the time for like sitting meditation, closing your eyes, very, you know, more like a Mars Saturn Vipassana, like, oh, super young. This is the time to do some Tai Chi, some Qigong, some conscious dancing, some very precise movements. And it's kind of very funny because here where I live, the other day, actually, I'm just thinking of this, yesterday, someone was mentioning that they want to start doing some Tai Chi in the mornings. I'm like, oh, how prevalent, you know, how on point that is. Anyway, so that is how to use this energy. I would say definitely take on some kind of Qigong or Tai Chi or like Yin yoga flow or things like that to connect to that energy at a very beautiful, let's say, expression of it. This is a high energy. Those are some things that you could be feeling, experiencing, expressing. So many options. Now, dun dun dun. March 25th, the penumbral lunar eclipse. So for those who don't know what a lunar eclipse is, well, the Earth, it's in the path of the moon, in the middle of the moon and the sun. So you see, this is a full moon. So we have the full moon is here in Aries, and don't mind the houses. This is just for Canada. And the moon is in Libra, and the Earth is here. So that's exactly this, right? And this is why the moon gets eclipsed, because it doesn't get the beams of the sun don't reach it. What this means is that the beams of the sun opaque, like, don't reach the moon has like no way to have a consciousness. And not only the moon is not a luminary, the moon doesn't give its own, it doesn't give its own light. The moon receives light from the sun. So when the moon is no longer receiving the light from the sun, all the lunar themes tend to get obscured, and the consciousness tends to go away wherever the moon is placed. So in this case, it's in Libra. And whatever planet it's contacting, so at 5 degrees of Libra, if you're a little bit more versed in astrology, any planets on or around the 5th degree of Libra will be really losing all their power and showing more of their unconscious or their shadow. Because they are almost like, woo, so we turn them off. And what do we turn on? Whatever's in Aries, where the sun is, that's what gets turned on. Now let's understand that an eclipse, it's none other than a full moon or a new moon that is close to the nodal axis within 16 degrees. And so we see that's why it's a penumbral. It's not a total eclipse, because this is 5 degrees and this is 15 degrees. So we have 10 degrees of separation. So it's not so exact. However, the energy is still very present. Now, themes of this eclipse. We've already discussed some of the Piscean themes. And now the Aries Libra themes are the ones that we're going to really look into, because this is what we're going to be dealing with. So, but what happened here? Here. So this is literally my 2 little drawings, my pre-AI drawings. I'll keep saying that forever and ever. This is the Aries energy all by myself, and this is the Libra energy. No, this is almost like fused, merged, wanting to keep everything in balance, wanting to make sure everybody's happy, everybody's having a good time, making sure all is fine, beautiful, nice and dandy, and always trying to keep those scales in balance. So if something goes off balance, Libra always tries to make it back into harmony. So Libra doesn't mean that everything is in harmony. It means that it's always trying to balance the scales. It's always trying to keep everything in harmony. This is why we talk about Libra as the diplomats, or people that can definitely have that touch for making sure harmony is achieved. And the shadow thereof is the people pleasing aspect. Is like, well, in order to keep the harmony, I have to sacrifice myself. Whereas the Aries energy is like, I don't really care about others. I'm here all by myself. And sorry, I'm not going to be minding what others are doing. Of course, that's in a very extreme sense, but that's a little bit why this is a very, is the self versus the other axis. And now during the eclipse, we will definitely need to address issues of codependency and overextending oneself for the sake of maintaining harmony. So during the eclipse, because this energy goes, we will be seeing all the shadow of our codependencies. Where are we not honoring ourselves, but just overextending? Just so that there's peace, instead of asserting oneself and speaking up, and saying, no, this is enough. It's also about finding a middle ground between the personal desires and the needs of others. is the key to navigating this time effectively. So where am I also seeing this? Because it's not just an eclipse in Libra and Aries. There is also a yod, which is 2 in conjunct. The south node is being aspected by Venus, by this inconjunct, and by Jupiter, by this other inconjunct. So you see, it's pointing towards this. It's like, look at this. The yod is the finger of God saying, hello, you need to look at this. And you need to release these codependencies. You need to release this. And it's about really finding a middle ground. You need to take yourself into consideration. So if you're the kind of person that really is completely selfless, and especially with Piscean energy, you are totally into martyrdom and never take care of yourself or your needs, this is going to be like pointing really strongly for you to go, you know what? I need time for myself. I want to do these things. And you might not necessarily know how to speak your needs. If you, on the contrary, are the kind of person that is only thinking about yourself and never really minding others, this will bring you the conflicts that will arise in this time will help you see that it's important to also look at others, and you're already really comfortable in yourself, so that's fine, but like there's an invitation to balance that out. So it's not like we're going towards Aries, it's really about finding that balance. So many issues can come up in the area of life where this eclipse is happening. These are the areas of your life where these themes will show up. Now I got this image, when I tell my AI, a person fused together. It just does that. It's kind of cool how what comes up. And this image really resonated because it's interesting, because it's almost like the same fusion that I had in my other image, where there is a codependency. There's a I don't know where you start or where I end, and then it shows kind of like the shadow side of this. I just thought this image was very compelling, amongst the 60 images that came up. So past relationship patterns may resurface for review and release. So all about relationships. There could be a tendency to overly focus on pleasing others at the expense of personal needs. And we just said that, the people-pleasing aspect. And because Venus, which is essentially the ruler of this eclipse, it's in Pisces, there might be karmic endings. Venus with Saturn, and Saturn being also part of the karmic planets, might be bringing back from wherever karmic relationships that need to be settled for good. And if we're still kind of want to go on that direction, might not work. This is the time when we finally release certain contracts and agreements. So the good thing, what I would invite you to do is to recognize which are these agreements with whom that are really no longer serving, that are really, this is the end of this relationships or these agreements or these contracts or this, and consciously dissolve it without the need for conflict, because the issue here is that conflict might come up because it's so hard to leave what we believe is the safest thing, and sometimes that's why we stay with somebody in toxic relationships or in codependency. And this is not about being codependent, it's about shedding codependency completely. So themes of codependency and imbalance in relationships may emerge. And this is where, for example, there's one partner that's always giving, and one that's always taking. And that will be brought up to the surface. And again, there might be conflict. It's a time for reassessing what brings true harmony and balance in your life. And sometimes that means removing things from it. So there is a Plutonian flare to this eclipse. And any eclipse is of a Plutonian nature. It's not that Pluto is involved. It's like there's a Plutonian nature, because eclipses are times of loss. There's something that needs to be lost, to be shed, to be removed, so we can keep evolving. This is like this ever-evolving spiral. So whenever we hit these points of eclipses, we're like, oh yeah, but what happened? Like, I thought I had done this work before. It's like, yeah, I just did one layer of it. And when we had all the eclipses in the Libra Aries axis are going to be with this theme. What are the people, places, things, especially people and relationships that we are no longer needing to nurture, and the ones that are coming in that are new and fresh, and what are the cycles that are ending, and how we can be more aligned with our own soul. This is part of this. It's like the Aries North Node during these 2 years is going to ask us, well, where are you going? Not where everybody wants you to go. Where are you going? And how do you contribute to the whole by being you? This is the theme, right? And past life connections or karmic partners related to partnerships may come to light. And this is, I said this because of the Saturn Venus as well. And this might be really a big theme as well. So there's an opportunity for growth through learning to assert boundaries and prioritize self-care. So this point, I think, is the central point of this eclipse. There's an opportunity for growth through learning how to assert boundaries and use your speech and prioritize self-care. So if I can take care of myself first, know who I am, be in my being, love myself deeply and dearly, it's much more easy for me to contribute to others and the world. You see, this is the theme of the eclipse, and this is why it's so important to look at these themes. So when things happen in your life around this time, around this next 15 days, really be aware. How am I doing my relationships? Am I still in codependent relationships? Am I too dominant still? Am I wanting to control? Again, these themes have been, kind of dragging from last year as well. So it's not like anything new. It's just that during the eclipse, it gets highlighted. It gets obvious. And then we can't really escape it. Now, in order to, again, avoid any suffering or unnecessary suffering, we use consciousness, because when the light of consciousness turns off with the eclipse, we can still use our inner sense of consciousness and coherence. And that's why I'm giving you this report. You have it in advance. So you know what's coming. So you don't need to just go through it unconsciously. You'll go, oh, I see it. Oh, I can see. Yeah, I'm aware of this. So big time for relationships. Big time. And also to learn how to assert your being. And if you don't know who you are, it's going to be difficult to assert your being. How would you know what you want if you don't know who you are? So I would say before the eclipse, these, next few days, this next 10 days, take some time out from all the hustle bustle, whatever, to get in tune with yourself, to get in tune with who you are, with your true motivations. If your motivations are motivated um, by patterns of trying to please outside or be loved, like really go on deep inside yourself and take stock of who are you. Now, I did this mandala workshop the other day where it was interesting because this octopus came up, like kind of an octopus. It's too bad I didn't put the image in, but next time I'll probably show it. It's still in the Piscean realm of things. And there was this message that came for me that I don't know why I just felt compelled to share. It says octopus memory. I'm like, okay, octopus memory. And then poof, this phrase came in. There is time for everything when we flow. When we flow. That brought me back to why, and this is maybe not just me, this is many of us, we still think that we need to go, 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 go. There's never enough time to accomplish things. To we need to get this done and that done and that and that, and we keep putting stuff in our plates, and then we forget to stop, to stop. At least I do. I just stop and go back into that space of connection that says, hey, don't worry, time is not a thing. Time is just a collection of present moments. You can always choose again and again. So why worry whether or not something gets done, or whether or not I had committed to something specific, and maybe it just changes. Be more flexible. And that's really addressed to me as a very Virgo person. But I know that this message might be touching you. Like, be gentle on yourselves. This is the invitation of that yin energy. Be gentle, and everything will still get done. It's not that we become passive. It's not about passivity. It's about gentleness towards self and gentleness towards others. Yeah, so this is kind of what I have for you. Now, last but not least, um, during this Piscean time, I've been, always connecting to my music and what I do with music, and I'm playing more piano and creating more music. And down below in the description box, there's a link to the music. And I call this, like, I just feel it's like music for the soul, which is a very good, for me at least, is a good way to exemplify how to bring down that Piscean realm into this realm. So this is again my offering to the world is that music. So I would love for you to click that link below. It says DistroKid Harmonic Butterfly. You click on it and it's on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, like, yeah. And if you listen to this music, maybe something gets inspired in you. Or I just would love to hear your comments. Maybe you're like, well, this is not my kind of thing. And that's perfect too, because just doesn't matter. I would just want to remind the world that that is out there, and that I'm offering this to the world. So yes, please go into that link below and click Harmonic Butterfly. Listen to some songs, see what it brings in you. Maybe for meditation. Some of the music is really for meditation or walking meditations or even dancing meditations. So there you have it. I love you very much, and I will see you in the next video for more eclipse talk.